From Blackburn disappointment to Coventry success, what a statement win. Welcome back to Where the Town Walk with myself, Luke, and today we've got Ian and Rich talking all things Ipswich, including this week's A to Z and tweet of the week. Rich, what a crazy week.
I mean, yeah, if you go from Blackburn, the 93 minutes and about 50 seconds, and you're thinking this is a really disappointing defeat, disappointing performance, and we'll probably talk about that. And then you score the late equaliser, and then you have to. It's strange that you have to. Although there wasn't really many positives, you'd say hardly any positives from that game to take. You need to take that positive of a goal. We haven't played well, but we've got a point, and then build on that. And then we did yesterday, didn't we? And it was a great performance. I think maybe we had a little bit of luck yesterday with some refereeing decisions, possibly, but. They do say they even them out over the season. So, and I think we got away with one as well at Blackburn with Matasiwa as well. So we've had a little bit of luck this week, and we took 4 points, and hopefully on to Stoke on Wednesday, and we can make another win. That'd be really good. Yeah,
like you say, it swings and roundabouts. Normally within the season, it does even itself out. We will get onto the refereeing and the decision, obviously, about George Hurst. We'll talk about him. But yeah, Ian, we've been talking, haven't we, for the last couple of weeks about, right, we want this statement win, we want this statement week. And yes, it didn't look like a 3-0 win, but it was a 3-0 win. It was a great result against top of the league. It's not to be sniffed at, is it?
No, yeah. I mean, coming off that Blackburn, which we'll see very much like 2 points dropped, you could understand maybe players' heads dropping a little bit because it's very inconsistent. Good win at Hull, then to lose, the Oxford loss and Blackburn. Yes, it really, out of 3 tough games on the road, purely from a logistical reason, not as in the opposition reason, we didn't really get maybe the points we were hoping to get from that. So, in a way, it made that game on Saturday against Coventry kind of a must-win game, which is hard to say when you're playing a team that's been so dominant in the Championship this year. And we saw how that kind of played out in the first 45, where Coventry were really dictating the pace in the game. I mean, it was a little bit scrappy from both teams, but certainly they were the ones who looked more like scoring, and it really was going to take a massive change and a shift in momentum to see that bounce back. And I'm not sure what Lampard's tactical change was in the second half, but it certainly didn't do him any favours.
No, not at all. Let's talk about that first half. Like you said, Coventry were definitely in control. We looked very similar to in the erratic sort of possession that we spoke about for the last couple of weeks. But someone kept us in it, and it was Christian Walton, wasn't it, Rich? He made some fine saves in the first half and a real good save in the second half as well. He had a good game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at key moments in games, don't you? And I thought his all-round goalkeeping was good, Luke, because I think you look at Coventry, had a lot of long throws in the first half, and he come through some traffic, and he caught a few, and he punched a few. But I mean, the save from Eccles, it's a great save. When you see from behind the goal that he's weights on his left foot, so he's sort of going that other way, and he just gets his fingertips there, and obviously tips it onto the post. And I think it was massive in the sense of we haven't done very well, have we, when we've conceded first, because I don't think we've won a game. So I think it was crucial there. He's made that save, and then we've obviously gone on and got the goal before half-time. We didn't really play that well, did we, first half? We couldn't get hold of the ball. I thought Hurst was quite poor up front. I thought it kept bouncing off him, and we never really had a spell of possession where you thought we're looking comfortable. But then Coventry had a lot of the ball, but they didn't really create a lot, did they? But they looked a good side. I think we have to touch on that they were obviously missing 3 big players in Torp, Sakamoto and Thomas Asante. So maybe with them, they haven't got the biggest squad, have they? They've done really well so far, and injuries might bite them up to Christmas. I think Coventry will be all right, Luke. I think they looked a good side. If they'd have got the first goal there yesterday, they probably would have gone on and got something from the game. But it's moments, isn't it, in games where your goalkeeper, and he's come in, Walton, and he's done really well, I know they said that Palmer had trained in the week, but I don't see any way that he gets back in the side at the minute. It's a case of like when Halagi came in 2 seasons ago when Walton got that injury, and he stayed in, didn't he? If you're playing well, you're confident, and Christian Walton's a good goalkeeper at this level, and I think on a lot of people sort of they'd pick him as man of the match yesterday because he's done crucial saves at crucial moments. Another one when it was it 2-0, I think, from Radone. He's done a good save there, and he had a good game, and he's had a funny career, hasn't he, Walton, when you look at Town, because he was obviously your number one in League One, and then he had that injury in the Championship, and he played, what was it, 5 minutes at the end of that Huddersfield game when he came on, and then he obviously had a few games in the Premier League. So he's got his shirt back now. He's been patient. He's waited his turn, and he's been excellent so far.
Yeah, it's definitely his shirt. You can't just. I think it would be against what McKenna's done against Walton if he did suddenly put Palmer back in. So yeah, I think it's Walton's shirt to lose. And yeah, great performance. Another guy who he's becoming, I think, a fan's favourite is Sindre Walle Egeli, Ian, and he's come up with 2 goals this the week just gone. I think it was a 2 brilliant finishes. We'll talk about the Coventry one first. I mean, it was a bit of overplaying maybe from Town, but we managed to still work it round. And brilliant finish. He's got that ice cool veins, hasn't he?
I noticed throughout the game he was shifting more and more into the middle of the park. It was almost like saying, "Okay, I want you to be the number 10 at some point in the season. So when you get the opportunity in the game, shift across into the centre of the park." You saw that with that move where the ball went out to Davis, came across to Philogene. And Sindre, instead of sticking out on the right-hand side of the box, which we've seen when McAteer's been playing that position, he was at the top of the box. And, where I think about that goal on Saturday, and that was so similar to Connor Chaplin's style of goal. The way he hit the ball first time across the goal. I mean, he's got the ability. He's got the ability to play the number 10, and he's got so many really good attributes that I would take out of different players that we've had. Like he's got the ability to break that right line like Wes Burns has. He's got the ability to give the vision for the quick ball from the middle like Chaplin has. But he's got the finesse of an accomplished striker as well. So he really is the full package when we look at that. And I guess it is only a matter of time before he does make that number 10 position his own. At the moment, it's working with Nunez in there as well. And I'm glad you were able to pronounce Egley's name, because I know Nunez can't. And we'll come on to that later. But yeah, I think it was a real key time to score. It's a cliche, isn't it? Just score before you go in. But it really did, because could have quite easily been down to 10 men, down 2-0. And then you'd be like, okay, we've got to go with 10 men against top scoring team in the Championship. It could be a whole different video we're having today. Yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong, it took me a while to get his name right, but thanks Ian, I appreciate that. A word on him, Rich. I think he's been, he's definitely this week been the shining light, and he's got so much potential. And I think we spoke on this before. Do you also see him coming into that number 10 role eventually?
I do eventually. I think we spoke on here a few weeks ago about when Amari came, and he was obviously finding his feet. And I think it's the same with Egeli. He's coming to a new country. He's coming to a new league. It's took him a while to get up to speed. I think we have to be fair. The goal at Blackburn looks a great finish. Just strokes it in the corner. Obviously didn't celebrate that. Celebrates the one yesterday with I love a knee slide on a wet day. Down there in the corner. And then he does the Haaland, doesn't he? Haaland celebration with Nunez. It was a great finish, and I agree with Ian. It was a little bit like Connor Chaplin when Davis pulls them balls back and he finishes it first time. Great time to score, wasn't it? You're going in 1-0, gives everybody a lift. It was a little bit undeserved maybe, but we've had games this season when we probably should have been leading and we haven't. So it's all about getting the first goal. And I think if we see that in the second half, when we talk about that, it's a totally different game, then, isn't it? The game opens up and we look a whole better side and we move the ball quicker. And we sort of played on the counter a little bit, didn't we? We didn't sit really deep, but we hit them on the break several times, and we could have had probably more than the goal that Hurst scored when he went through one-on-one. He probably should have had one before that. But real high line, wasn't it, for that second goal?
Yeah, well, it was perfect for us, wasn't it? That's what we wanted. And obviously we're talking about Egeli in the 10 role, but I want to have a word on Nunez. I think he was brilliant on Saturday. I think he was top. He dropped a little bit deeper, picked up the ball probably in more conventional sort of midfield sort of positions, and he knew that Hurst was on the shoulder. He was playing some beautiful balls forward, just like Chaplin used to. So I like that. I do like Nunez in the 10. I think he's probably had not a great couple of games prior. I think that's fair to say. I think sometimes his first touch is a little bit not there, but I think he had a good game. Someone who also first touches and been brilliant is George Hurst, Ian, and there was a big, obviously controversial moment. I'm sure everybody's seen it. Obviously, 10 minutes before this moment, Eccles has a shot that's after the whistle's gone, so he's kicked the ball away, seemingly in anger, so he's been given a yellow card. Hurst, 10 minutes later, already on a yellow card. He's through on goal, offside flag. He decides to have a shot. No matter what we think, it's a silly decision to do that anyway. 10 minutes prior, you've seen someone get yellow card for that. So I don't know what was going through Hurst's head. But for you, Ian, was it a red card? Do you think we got away with one?
Well, so it's classed as USB, unsportsmanlike behaviour. And when you look at the rules really clear. It says that would be a yellow card. But then there's this little caveat about referee's discretion. And that's like a lot of things which really kind of annoy people. You watch the game, why do we have this referee's discretion? It should be consistent. It's very similar to if your player gets crocked and has to have treatment, he has to go off the pitch. And it seems to be it's at the referee's discretion when you're allowed to come back on. And several times, you've been under the cosh with 10 players. Like, why are you holding my player off? Yeah, it should just be a case of if you get injured and you have to go for treatment, it's 15 seconds done. Why allow the discretion to come in? Because I totally sympathise with Coventry fans when Hurst didn't get a yellow card. And of course, you know that the referee's going, well, that'd be quite a bit nasty to kind of send him off. But, it happened to Declan Rice for the most innocuous of touches on the ball. They ain't going to change that decision. And we ride our luck. Like Rich says, it's about time maybe some of those decisions fell on our side. But it allowed Hurst to maybe get his head in the game a bit more. And, we had some of his runs on Saturday, maybe people missed them, but it would be so easy with such a high line to be constantly getting offside. And when Ivan Azon came on, they'd obviously been working on this. They anticipated, I think, because you watch their runs and they always pulling these sideways runs first to make sure that they didn't fall foul of offside. And I think Simon Hurst was offside and then kicked the ball away. It was only a matter of inches anyway. So that was good to see our centre forwards for the day kind of really working on trying to time their runs to perfection. And we do need to see Hurst, putting these balls away with a bit more confidence and have a bit more faith in his own ability. And he'll be wanting to do that. With the World Cup coming up, he wants to be staking a guaranteed place in the squad. And that isn't guaranteed, but so it's in both parties, vested interest for he does well.
Yeah, definitely. I think we all know George Hurst is quite good at playing off the shoulder. He scores quite a few goals that way. One in League One springs to mind. I think it was against Barnsley. If I'm Davis, that was quite a key moment in that season. So he's good in terms of playing on the shoulder, but something for a big boy, something he needs to work on is that hold up play and that connecting play, and especially the way we play, the system we play. That's sometimes where it breaks down. We get out of that press that we talked about last week, and then unfortunately it falls apart in maybe that little section there. So it's something he needs to work on. Rich, I'll let you comment on the red card as well, please, mate. What do you think? Do you think it was a red card? But also, do you think once it doesn't happen, you've got to play? There's a lot of time still to be played, isn't there? So Lampard has to sort of just take it as it is, and Coventry still has plenty they could have gone on and done.
It's quite interesting talking about the goal against Barnsley because Bobby Thomas and Kitchen, who were playing for Coventry, were playing for Barnsley that night, Luke. I see that today. He's got away with one. I think we all know that if you're looking at the rules, it's one of those ones for me where if the referee hasn't booked George Hurst, he'll give him a yellow card there. And I think it's probably one of those ones in his mind that he thinks, I've got to send him off it. So, but if you are going by the letter of the law, you see, because he does check his run a little bit and sort of stops and then he continues and he fires it wide. So it is moments in games. And if the boot's on the other foot, I think Kieran probably wouldn't be happy. They spoke to him after the game and he sort of just glossed over it a little bit. And I think sometimes managers, they're not really going to be honest, are they? He probably knows as well that we've got away with one. But it was nice to see. He didn't have the best first half. And then he obviously missed the chance one-on-one, I think, when Kit Price slips him through and he probably should score that. I think he scored one against Coventry last time, Luke, I think, when Cameron Burgess slipped him in. Look, it's a really good finish. The one, he's just inside his own half. When I looked, I thought, I think he could be offside there, but he's not. So he checks his run. They've played a high line. And it's confidence with strikers, isn't it? He's not scored for a few games. He's obviously going to be suspended, isn't he, on Wednesday night because he got his 5th yellow, so he's out the game. That gives someone else an opportunity, but he's got 6 goals. he probably knows that there's going to be somebody coming in January, I would have thought, at the back of his mind. So he's got to use that as a positive to drive him on. Someone's going to come in, I'm going to play well, and they're going to have to get that shirt off me. So George Hurst can play at this level. There's no doubt he can play at this level. It's just like you say, the way that we play, you've got to secure that ball. You've got to secure that ball as a striker, get hold of it, get us up the pitch. It just kept bouncing off him a little bit, didn't it, in that first half? But yeah, second half, he was a totally different player, and he probably knew at the back of his mind he was lucky to still be on the pitch.
Yeah, definitely. And going to what you're saying about the possibility of a striker coming in January, this is where you see George Hurst's character, because you're right. What he should be doing is using that as fuel to go, no, I don't care who comes through that door in January. This is my shirt. I'm the number 9. I'm going to be starting. So that's what we want to see from him, don't we? We don't quite want him to go too far that way and come out with the comments he did after his Birmingham penalty, but we still want to see a little bit of not attitude, but a little bit of character in there. Right, we have to talk about it. The Blackburn game, it was very, very disappointing. Personally, I think it was one of the worst performances we've had for a while, and we're probably even talking about over the Premier League, which we didn't obviously have many good games in. But yeah, it was poor. More from a heart point of view, I felt like there was no real effort there. It really lacked a lot. And McKenna come out with a few comments, didn't he? And let's go through them. I think the first one, Ian, he even came out, which is unlike him. He came out and said poor performance, which was refreshing to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, McKenna's the ever optimist. He's always able to pull out a positive out of a game. But I personally, like you, Luke, I think that was the worst game I've seen under McKenna. Not just through the ability, but just disjointed, lack of passion. It lacked anything. And that's a real kind of kick in the teeth for what was a really large contingent of away fans as well. Midweek, all the way up to Blackburn, which is not the easiest of journeys, and they deserve much more than that as well. I was actually quite surprised. I didn't hear someone like Dara say, right, we're going to refund all the coach transport or something. But it really was a dire night out. And again, the only real kind of glimmer of positive I can get from that is that Egeli managed to kind of open his account. But that was it. It really wasn't much else worth talking about. I think the changes in the squad, maybe that was the straw that's broken the camel's back about keep changing the team, and maybe we'll see what happens. Obviously, with the exception of Hurst on his suspension, maybe we'll see the other 10 the same on against Stoke, and that might well be when we talk about going around changing, breaking the corner, etc. Maybe this is what we'll see, and this will be a more consistent team going forward. Notwithstanding the February comment that McKenna made.
Yeah, well, that brings us nicely onto that. He mentioned, didn't he? It was a big part of the pre-conference, I think it was, before the Coventry game. It was a lot about squad rotation. About clearly, like you said, everyone reads the fan forums. Everyone can see that there is definitely a question to squad rotation within the fan base. Why there's so many changes, etc. And he did say that obviously the 2 years, the different leagues, etc. It's obviously this is what's happened, and it's now trying to try and build that cohesion within the team. And he said hopefully by 1st of February being a key point, that we'll see a more settled team. So what do you think? What do you take from that, Rich? Do you take do you agree that you think okay, that's fine as long as we're there amongst it come 1st of Feb, there's still plenty of time to secure a promotion place? And also, do you think that means that maybe the likes of Colin Chaplin could return, or bring in obviously other players in? What do you make of the comment, especially about it being 1st of February?
I was watching the press conference, and the thing I like with Kieran is I think it was a 7-minute answer he gave to the question about squad rotation, and I always like that he explains, doesn't he? Sort of. A lot of coaches, they don't really give an answer, but McKenna comes out and he explains what he does and why he does it. And then look, fans, not everyone's going to agree with it because it's football. I get that. But yeah, it's interesting when he said about the 1st of February. Obviously, we've got the window coming. Be interesting who sort of leaves, who comes in. If, like you say, does a Chaplin return? Spoke about him a couple of weeks ago. I don't think he does come back personally. I think it just muddies the waters a little bit when you've signed like your Akpoms. Where does it leave people like him? This is a little bit. We've got to we're 5 points, I think, off Borough, aren't we? And you've got a lot of games between now and you've got your Christmas period, and then you're obviously into January and you've got your FA Cup games. But this strikes me a little bit maybe like that League One season where, you know, it took us up to February to get going. And I went to Bristol Rovers that night, you know, when it was 0-0 and we didn't play very well. And then Sam Morsey was having an argument with a fan. And it took something like that night to sort of draw a line in the sand. And then we won sort of, was it 14 out of 15? Something like ridiculous run we went on. It's all about consistency in this league, Luke, because you look at the league at the minute, it is so concertina's in the middle there. Any of them teams now putting a run together, you can climb up. If you have 3 or 4 defeats, you're going to slide down. So for me, it's all about being consistent now through to January. I think there'll be a little bit of rotation around your Christmas games, but I think now you'd hope that he sort of can stick to he's going to get injuries, he's going to get suspensions. But if you look at the team he picked yesterday, it was the team that played at Oxford, wasn't it? So, and obviously we've got another extra day before the Stoke game, because it's a bit weird that we play on a Wednesday, because we normally play on a Tuesday, don't we? So we've got an extra day there, but then you've got a day less for Leicester. So maybe he goes with sort of maybe quite a few of them ones who played on Saturday. But we just got to trust him, haven't we? We've got to trust McKenna. That was the most down I've ever seen him after a game, that press conference or his interview after Blackburn, because I was there. They were a few seconds away, I think, from getting a bit of a hot reception from the away end that night, you know, and it's sort of, I said, look, you go through a game, you drive all that far, you have to celebrate when you score an equaliser. I celebrated and then thought, we didn't deserve anything here. You know, we didn't deserve anything. And what I see, my takeaway from the end of that game is there was quite a lot of players coming over and giving their shirts to fans. And I'm thinking, yeah, they know that they've not played well here. You know, they're giving a few shirts away thinking, yeah, we've got away with one. But it might be an important point at the end of the season.
Yeah, it definitely might be. I also want to say, fans like yourself, Rich, travelling twice to Blackburn, big respect to any fans that made that journey twice, and you know, to all the fans that travel away, it's a big commitment. So yeah, you put some miles in, didn't you, Rich? So yeah, big respect for that, mate. Right, we're now on to as we alluded to a Wednesday night game, which don't come too regularly, and it's Stoke at home. Again, a team that are doing really well and having a strong season. Ian, what are you expecting from the game, and what's your score predictions, please, mate?
I'd like to say I'm expecting more of the same, and that's really what I should be expecting. More of the same. We need to absolutely kind of stamp our foot on this table right now. We've knocked Coventry off their perch for a brief stint, and we get to do that again, hopefully, the end of December. I think Stoke are one of a number of clubs who are the also-rans at the moment to pushing for that second place. And they've been a little bit like us. You know, they've had a really good start to the season, then they kind of came off the boil. They've been inconsistent. They had that drubbing at Sheffield, didn't they? So I think it's a game that's definitely winnable for us. For me, again, another clean sheet would be really, really good. And you look at Walton's stats for clean sheets. It's crazy the amount of clean sheets he's had as an Ipswich Town player. I mean, it surpasses any other goalkeeper I think we've ever had on the ratio. So for me, yeah, it's another have to win game purely for the case of, you know, catching up still. And I'd like to think we can go maybe another 2-0 and another clean sheet would be really good to see on that, build on that.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great result. And I would like, we talk about the results and stuff. I just want to also see a good performance. I want to see maybe what we saw in the second half for 60, 70 minutes rather than just a half. I want to see us sort of really taking hold of the game. Cheers, mate. Now on to Leicester away. Rich, what do you expect from that game, and what is your score predictions?
Well, they're not exactly setting the world alight, are they, Leicester? They're a little bit up and down. Good win yesterday at Derby. Before that, they lost at home to Sheffield United. I mean, they were 2-0 down in 4 minutes. There was people leaving at half-time. Not a happy club there, I don't think, Leicester. You know, they might have a points deduction coming as well, Luke. I think this is the time to stack some wins up. You know, I think we'll be. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for Stoke at home. Leicester, Casey McAteer going back to the King Power. Does he get a start? Does he get? Football works in weird ways. Does he get his first goal there? You know, he obviously scored against us, didn't he, at the end of the Premier League season last year. I'll go for a 2-1 Town win. I think we're going to go 3 wins on the spin. I think we're going to. This is a time when you've got to get your foot to the floor and start putting some wins and pulling away from like your team. Like you play Stoke on Wednesday night, and I agree with what Ian said there. They did have a good start, but now they're becoming a little bit inconsistent. I'm going to be interested to see how they react on Wednesday, because obviously Mark Robins, I think he's an excellent manager at this level, but you've just lost 4-0 away. How are they going to set up when they come to Portman Road? Are they going to come and they're going to sit in and make it difficult for Town? Or are they going to come and think, right, we need to get a win here? So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, I think it's going to be 2 wins this week, and we're all going to be happy.
Oh, I love that. What about you, Ian? Obviously, you said your Stoke predictions. What about Leicester? Are you also expecting a win?
Do you know, I just hope that Hurst comes back into the squad for Leicester, because he missed out on his first opportunity to play Leicester, where we obviously got him. So I would love to see us, go to Leicester, and nothing like kicking somebody when they're down, is there? But maybe we should be doing that, because by then we'll also know who we've got in the FA Cup. So there could be some interesting fixtures coming up on the table. That's going to be something that McKenna's going to have to think about. But yeah, I'm like Rich. We need to make hay while the sun is shining. If you've got a club that's struggling, hit them now, because there are teams like Sheffield United who have had a massive resurgence. We're going to have to play them over Christmas, aren't we? So we need to really make the most of it. Hit Stoke while they're stumbling. Hit Leicester while they're not sure about this point. So yeah, I'm going to go for 2-0 again. So 4 goals, none against. That'd be nice.
Oh, that'd be brilliant. That would be what we always say at statement week, wouldn't it? If that comes to fruition. So please, let's hope that the boys can do it. Now we're on to our A to Z feature, where we choose a letter associated with Ipswich Town. So we're on to the letter I. Ian, who or what is your letter I for Ipswich?
Well, I was looking at thinking of international players. Ipswich always had a really good presence on the international scene, but it was kind of, maybe that was in the 80s. And we're starting to see that again now with people who are going to be in squads in the World Cup. But for me, the eye that stands out was for Iraq, and the fact that Ipswich had the first Iraqi-born Premier League player in Al-Hamadi, who is not having the best of times at Luton, I understand, injured. But yeah, so for me, it's a quick one there, Iraq. And again, it just shows you that it might be, it's Iraq, they mean nothing. But what it does bring to the club is brand exposure. And if I look at someone like Ilkan Baggett, he's got 2.2 million Instagram followers. Leeds United, big club, have only got 1.2 million. So this player, he's not even in our first team, has got over 2 million followers. And that makes our brand massive out in Southeast Asia. So you can understand, why maybe, certainly when we had Al-Hamadi in the team, the Ipswich Town forums were suddenly inundated with people from Iraq, posting messages. And maybe that's what we need. We need that global exposure to kind of be pushing into the Premier League next year if we can manage to get promoted.
Yeah, it definitely helps, doesn't it? The global exposure. So yeah, I like that one. Rich, what about yourself, please, mate?
Well, I was looking, slim pickings. I said to you two before we started, slim pickings rise. There's not many players with the letter I. I wasn't going to choose either Inga Marson, Ian, because he wasn't very successful for Town. I'm going to choose Inter Milan. Back to the glory days under George Burley, and great night under the lights at Portman Road when we beat them 1-0 with Alan Armstrong nodding one in. And then I remember going to the San Siro. I remember seeing Ronaldo playing, coming off the bench. Unfortunately, it was a 4-1 defeat over there. Christian Vieri scored a hat-trick. But those were some good days under Burley. And, never did I think that I'd see a team like Inter Milan heading down to Portman Road. I know they didn't play their full team in the first game, but you can never take away a win at home against a big team from Italy. So, Inter Milan. That is my eye.
I think we had what, 7,500 away fans.
I think there was nearly
Was
10
it 10?
there, Ian.
10, yeah.
It was sad when I see the other weweek that I think they're knocking it down, aren't they? The San Siro. It's going. That's going to be. I always remember that from Italian 90. But I love going there. Day trip to Milan. You never know. In the future, we could be maybe going to some European games. Maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself.
Fingers crossed. Add to your mileage there, Rich, if we do.
Well, there you go. I went to work the next day after that. I remember coming back, landing about 6. I remember flying out from Stansted, and it was really, really foggy that morning. I'm thinking, blimey, we want to get over it. But it was. I had some great trips in Europe. I went to Helsingborg away when we went to Harry's Bar, and David Sheepshanks was in there being carried over everyone's heads, and yeah, some good times. But it shows how quickly the years go, Ian, because that was, blimey, 24 years ago.
I'm
Luke,
thinking back to the...
were you born then, Luke? Were you born?
Oh, yeah, I was born, mate. 5, I was probably about then. So, yeah,
I was thinking back to the UEFA Cup semi-final at Cologne when I went.
There you go.
Yeah, that's going back. Terry Butcher.
I always remember that one from, there's Bobby Ferguson and Sir Bobby sitting on them chairs on that running track. There's no side dugout. They're just sitting on these 2 plastic chairs.
The good old days, as they say. Exactly. Right, now we're on to tweet of the week to finish, and it's a funny one. It's ITV football tweeted it, but it's actually a quote from Egley's interview after the game, and he's talking about Nunes, and he says, "I don't think he knows my name. He calls me Haaland every time he sees me," which I think is it shows that there's a bit of banter going on between the group, which we all like to see. And question from that is, Ian, I'm going to ask you first, mate. Can Egley hit the high heights of Erling Haaland?
The Norwegian development squad thinks so. He scored 32 goals in 35 games at the under-17 level in Norway. He's already made a full international last year. So it'd be interesting to see what happens in the summer, because, if you can get into the squad when you got Erling Haaland in front of you, that's pretty good. And there is another Norwegian player who is actually someone we could be looking at bringing in as well. So, a certain Tobias Lauritsen. So I think Egley's got the world at his feet right now. I just really hope it doesn't end up being another Dilap, though, where we don't make it into the Premier League and he's poached, because, Newcastle really, really were poised to sign him. And I think a lot of big clubs are now looking at his performance in the Championship as a kind of litmus test. We haven't had to invest. Ipswich have made the bloody step to buy him. Let's see how he gets on. So if he starts being slightly more, frequent goal scorer, and certainly a larger number of goal involvements, I would not be surprised to see the odd scout from current top 6 clubs in the Premier League casting their eye over him, based on the fact that he is so heavily regarded in the Norwegian academy setup.
Yeah, I think because he had a slightly slow start, that might have helped us a little bit, because it probably kept some eyes away from him. I'd like to think he sees his future in town for the foreseeable. I mean, especially if we do get promoted, then I think he sees it as a great place to be. If we can obviously maintain a place in the Premier League, then that then again can help secure his signature going forward. But he's a great talent, isn't he, Rich? And he's a player that I think everybody thinks can. He's got all the attributes, hasn't he, that to be a successful player and have a great career.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on him when he's coming in with that price tag. I mean, the most expensive player ever in the Championship, and he's only 19. You've got to realise he's only 19. But I look at him physically and think he's only going to develop, isn't he? In this league, and it's quite a hard league to come into, Luke. From where he's been playing, he's got a high price tag, and defenders are going to know that. But I think, look, he's got a couple of goals now, and I go back to Amari. When Amari came in, he was quite a slow starter, So it takes certain players longer to find their feet. But you look at the 2 finishes this week, they're 2 real quality goals. The way he wraps his foot around that one yesterday. And I think I do agree with Ian. I think eventually he'll move into the number 10 position. I can see him playing in the Premier League. I think you get a little bit more time on the ball. He knows there's a World Cup ahead, in the summer. If he keeps his form, he might slip into that. But yeah, did we watch the World Cup draw on Friday, boys? I mean,
yes,
what a mess that was.
Yeah,
oh my God.
yeah. Donald, the only good thing was Donald Trump agreed that football should be called football. So
definitely.
I did like that. Say what you like about the guy. We've all got our opinions.
Did they have the YMCA on, Ian, at the end of it?
Yes,
did I catch that?
Did. Yeah.
Oh my Lord, unreal.
They do it different, don't they? But fair play to him. Fair play to him. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, guys. Thank you for a great conversation as always. Let's hope it is a strong week like we all predict and hope for. Thank you, everybody, for watching at home. Please like and subscribe, and please get involved in the comments below, talking all things Ipswich.